2014 kan begitu parah nih kalau kita hitung, tambah lagi mobil murah yang masuk segala macam, berarti kepadatan 2014 bisa lebih cepat. Tidak ada mobil murah aja diperhitungkan udah akan macet total gitu kan. Ya kita bisa ambil satu langkah yang cepat. Langkah cepat ganjil genap juga terjadi, orang bisa ganti beli mobil lagi kan. Nah jadi caranya gimana? Kita gunakan ERP, ya ERP butuh waktu. Nah sekarang kita lagi pikir gimana yang mirip dengan ERP tapi manual.
Masih dikaji Bang.
Nah manualnya seperti apa? Ya pakai pas masuk. Jadi Anda harus beli pas masuk.
Seperti apa Bang?
Jadi ibaratnya ERP-nya bayar di muka sebulan atau setahun. Jadi kalau ada stiker, lihat ada stiker itu boleh masuk. Tidak ada stiker yang beli di bank atau dinas pajak tidak bisa masuk. Nah tinggal paling orang memalsukan stiker kan. Kalau dia memalsukan stiker waktu dia parkir, kan kita akan ngecek barcode-nya segala macam. Kalau terbukti ya tinggal pidana, itu lebih mudah.
Yang menginisiasi hal ini dihapus siapa Bang? Dari
Wagub lah yang punya ide-ide ngomong sampaikan, kan kita tinggal kaji gitu.
Nah Bang, masih mengenai transportasi Bang, mengenai metro mini peremajaannya gimana Bang? Ugal-ugalan masih
tergantung mereka, kalau nggak kita begitu bus cukup kita kandangin habis. Makanya kan persoalan kami kemarin kita tidak bisa beli bus cepat karena semua tender. Kenapa tender? Karena ATPM selalu jualannya sasis, badannya dibuat di karoseri. Akhirnya tidak pernah ada di ATPM itu di dalam e-katalog daftar price list bus. Kalau Kijang ada gitu kan, atau Suzuki R3 ada. Tapi kalau bus tidak pernah ada, karena tergantung karoseri. ATPM hanya jual mesin dan sasis. Nah sekarang kita desak ATPM kerjasama dengan karoseri langsung jadi bus saja. Sehingga dia laporkan ke dalam LKPP, keluar dalam e-katalognya. Ya nanti kami beli bus seperti beli Toyota Avanza Xenia aja gitu.
Kalau buat yang operator yang ugal-ugalan, yang mobil masih bobrok tuh gimana?
Kita akan hapus trayeknya. Sekarang masalahnya bus tidak cukup. Jadi itu kenapa kita mesti tambah bus. Kita mendesak orang naik bus, tapi busnya tidak aman, tidak nyaman, nunggunya tidak jelas. Karena jumlahnya tidak pernah cukup. Bayangkan Transjakarta harusnya 1.200-an unit, kita cuma punya 600, 40%-nya bobrok lagi. Siapa yang mau naik kan? Tapi kalau nyaman, nanti kami juga akan terapkan, mungkin yang masuk ke dalam jalur busway akan diblokir STNK-nya. Kerjasama dengan polisian, jadi lebih mudah.
Bang, satu lagi Bang, beberapa hari lalu ada remaja putri diperkosa di Monas, ini keamanan di Monas.
Makanya itu tadi kita bilang sistem keamanan kita bisa evaluasi, bukan orang keliling-keliling, tapi setiap pojok harus pasang CCTV. Si petugas tuh plototin layar CCTV, bukan layar TV, bukan acara TV dong. Dia mesti, Anda dibayar untuk plototin itu acara, bukan acara TV tapi ya layar-layar CCTV. Itu
selama ini pola kontrolnya gimana Bang?
Kayak keliling-keliling gitu kan, tungguin orang kan, dia pulang malam. Nah ini yang jadi masalah, remaja sendiri juga jalan sendiri ngapain juga kan, itu bisa. Jadi memang banyak hal gitu juga nggak bisa melarang orang jalan sendiri sih. Nah tapi itu tugas kita, bukan salah dianya. Kita harus menegur, kalau lihat ada orang satu jalan harus ditegur. Nah kita mesti jelas gitu kan. Bisa juga orang bilang ada pelacuran di sana macam-macam kan. Nah jadi artinya kita petugas yang tidak beres, jangan menyalahkan orang yang datang gitu loh. Kalau kita lihat ada satu remaja perempuan jalan sendiri harus dicegat. Ada apa gitu loh mau jalan sendiri. Ya kan ada dua orang cowok cewek ngumpet berdua juga mesti kita tegur. Jadi kesalahannya di kami sebetulnya kalau saya bilang gitu.
Bukan karena jumlah personil Bang yang kurang, tapi lebih.
Kalau personil kurang, makanya saya bilang konsep Pol PP kita salah. Saya udah koreksi berapa kali sama mereka. Selalu bilang mau tambah pasukan. Dia maunya pagar ayu melulu. Termasuk beresin PGL mau pagar ayu, mau jaga kanan pagar ayu. 7 juta orang nggak cukup jaga Jakarta kalau tiap posok ditongkrongin. Ya makanya kita gunain CCTV. Satu orang bisa plototin 20 sudut. Gitu loh. Itu yang kita mau, kalau 20 sudut kamu satu orang nggak cukup. Satu orang udah 20 orang. Mana berani satu orang? Kalau 2 orang tongkrongin, 3 shift 6 orang. Nentuin 20 sudut sudah masih 60 orang. Gila kalau teori begitu. Nah, ini lagi kita mau perbaiki.
CCTV-nya kurang Bang di Monas ya Bang ya?
CCTV murah. Mereka aja pasangin yang mau 150 juta satuan, gila juga. Aneh-aneh aja sini Bang.
Ini lah. Ngopi Bang, ngopi.
Undangannya nggak ada diundang. you've done a really good
Kayak Pak.
Deputy Governor.
Big boss.
Kita baru bahas lah. Bingung Pak Dewa.
Jadi kalau
Jadi-jadi.
ketemu orang bule, saya pun dipanggil Deputy Governor.
Iya, kalau ini ya bingung kami ya ada.
Saya bilang,
Wakil
jadi-jadian Pak.
Iya. Kalau di Indonesia itu istilah wakil itu vice untuk Jakarta, vice governor, like the vice president.
Ya.
Makanya pemilihannya kan 50%+1. Nah kalau di daerah lain itu tidak ada deputy governor, tidak ada, mereka hanya spesial Jakarta.
Iya.
Makanya kalau daerah lain wakil gubernur suka diterjemahin deputy governor.
Iya.
Ini kan dulu kan kita punya 4 deputy governor, hanya 1 governor, 4 deputy.
Orang asing ya, Bapenas ada vice governor.
Khusus DKI, yang Jakarta membingungkan memang. Saya masih suruh orang bingung yang masuk. Terlalu jelas susah. Masih juga orang yang agak bingung-bingung juga. Ya, silakan Pak.
Iya,
Terima kasih.
Pak, baik Pak, sebelum Bapak saya ingin melaporkan bahwa selama kurang 3 bulan ya, setelah bertemu dengan Bapak, kami lakukan diskusi-diskusi terutama di tempat Bu Endang dan di tempat Pak Franky, dan sekarang penajamannya mungkin yang akan dilaporkan.
Iya, kami ya hari ini mau mengajukan beberapa proposal, beberapa ide mengenai asset management sama internal audit function. Maaf, ini dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi ada dua presentasi, ada juga dalam bahasa Indonesia ya.
Ini bisa bahasa Inggris bagus-bagus semua.
Ya, memang. Okay, I'll just say that you, yeah.
I'll say that if you don't mind. Selamat pagi. My bahasa is not as good as my David.
We prefer English, so we
I'm learning, but it's terrible. Good morning to you all. Vice Governor Ahok and the executives, thank you for inviting us. Just a bit of background as to the purpose of today's presentation. There were some discussions that we had initially to see how between the governments of Australia and Indonesia to see how the government's offices can be assisted in different ways. And subsequent to that, Ahok wrote to AUSA to ask for some assistance in the 2 areas of asset management and strengthening the internal audit function as the 2 key areas of doing this. Ibu Tuti and her staff did an excellent job of producing the terms of reference, which laid out what you wanted, how it could assist and whatnot. The board of Indy then went through the process and approved what's called a scoping exercise. And essentially the scoping exercise is finding out the facts, getting some details from all the people concerned, then doing a report to say these are some of the deficiencies, this is what we can do to help you to improve your situation. And then if more work is required, it then goes through the same process again. So at this stage it's really fact-finding, information on what should be done, maybe how it should be done, how it can be improved, etc. Since then, what's happened is that we've had several meetings with the Tuti and our staff, with Wigan, and we decided that what we should do is to make sure that the senior executives are on board. They're going to be the champions of what we're trying to do. We can do the stuff, but we are only here for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. When we go where we don't want this to fall down. So really, it's a capacity building exercise, which means that it's important for leadership to take the lead role, set the example, act as champions, right? So that's something that I keep repeating when I'm doing work. As consultants, we can do the work for you, but you're not going to learn out of the process. So that's not the way it should go. Then the next step was to firstly have this meeting to explain what is involved. The step after this would be to have a meeting with more wider range of staff at the senior levels, at the detail level. And therefore the idea is that we all communicate so that we all know what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do that. So that's just the start. I've got 22 slides, but I'm not going to spend time on all the slides. I'm going to keep it at a fairly high level. And if you have questions, please just ask. Don't wait for the end, okay? Here's what we're hearing as we started the exercise. Under the Indonesia Governance Index, the DKI has slipped a little bit from 6.51 in 2008 to 6.33. What does this mean? This is the confidence level. The Vice Governor has this whistleblowing line at the moment, which is interesting. Perhaps that can be built up on to introduce, to say to the public you're interested in strengthening the process. The Governor has stated publicly that the asset management system is not working the way it should be working. Right? Part of the problem seems to be that the legal support system is that there's good titles of the assets that you manage, conflict of who owns what, who manages what. That's coming out in the press, and so we thought we could mention that. So the asset management system, as well as the internal audit system, needs legal support at the best of times, because we are a government works on legalities. Jakarta Baru is self-explanatory. New Jakarta when we came in. So, there's been a lot of talk for introducing reforms and implementing good governance, improving the quality of the people who are doing this sort of thing. We know that public expectation is very high for the new government to perform. On the other side, the PPK has done audits, as you know. They have come out with reports. And it's interesting that in audit reports, the way it normally goes is that we get a clean report. It just says everything is fine. And then you have a management report that goes into some detail about areas that can be improved. And it's interesting that their opinion, in fact, says that there is a need to improve asset management. They have particularly highlighted depreciation as a policy that's not there. But that's one aspect of it. I suspect they're talking about the whole asset management process. And DKI has a lot of assets, all sorts of things. So it's very important that that resource be managed, or controlled and managed. And of course, openly, Vice Governor, you have said that you welcome KPK and all that to oversee your process. But the issue is, why should KPK be, if you are good enough, then of course, KPK can take a higher level look rather than a close level look. So this sort of sets the background to why asset management and why internal audit. Now we'll talk first about the asset management policy, what they call strategy and plan. I want to set the stage, if you will, that assets include all sorts of things. They include hard assets like roads and bridges and hospitals or whatever you want to call it. And then there are the current assets, that's cash, receivables, you've got investments in banks, etc., reserve funds. We're not going to look at that. We're limiting ourselves to asset infrastructure and other fixed assets. And the the government accounting standards in Indonesia define fixed assets as the land, building, infrastructure, construction in progress, plant and equipment, cultural collections, that's a challenge, natural resources, and of course accumulated depreciation, which is, I don't want to stress that too much, but BPK reported on the accumulated depreciation. So just to differentiate and make sure that we are all on the same baseline, we're not going to look at what's not highlighted. We're going to only look at the fixed assets areas of that in terms of management control. Setting out the current situation as we've been told, and to some extent the discussions we've had, the management responsibility for assets lies in TP number 6 of 2006 and the Purnama number 17 of 2007. That's the technical background, it's a legal background at the moment. One of the points that I've said earlier is that as this exercise evolves, there may be a need to change your legal backup as to how you do it. What is BPK doing now? They're conducting an inventory or census of fixed assets in collaboration with BPK. On Tuesday, I attended the opening ceremony. We had something like 700 people, 800 people, who are going to take a census or an inventory of the assets. It's interesting that you did this exercise in 2008, 5 years ago, which was moderately successful from what I'm being told. I haven't seen the papers yet. It should be better now. But it's also interesting that this is a first step. What you are doing is to identify the asset. Where is the asset? What condition is the asset? And with all the modern technology we have, they're going to photograph everything. And in cases of land and roads and whatnot, they're going to Google it and map it, which is an excellent start in terms of what we're trying to do. I think an important process that I was talking to Alawan on was that we still need to identify who owns the asset. It's all very well to say the asset, but who owns it? You know, is the title still good? I mean, you're having a lot of problems with titles, as I understand, especially in private PPPs where you do construction with private entities. You build something and then you to hand over the asset of a particular point in time. But I've been told, and this is the asset, that the title is not clear. Right? You're not getting a free title.
You know better than me.
No, I have good people who tell me something. But that's an area that I think is very important. So there are two areas. One is to say, all right, you've got the asset.
I think
The next step is to say who owns the asset. Then the next step after that is really to say what's it worth. If we carry it in the books at X rupiah, is it worth that amount? The other exercise that's being carried on, so you're heading in the right direction is what I see at the moment. Integrating the IT system, that's facing a few difficulties.
That's different.
You have an IT system that's there in local government that you want to use, but getting that into the system here would be a bit of a challenge. And that's in process. You're taking some steps to upgrade the capacity of human resources. That's important in that if people are going to look after asset management, it's not just today's people, it's getting a system into place so that when today's people go, the new ones can come in and get hold of an SOP, standard procedures, and they will get training, continuous training. You can't, nobody these days can operate on a system where you teach them 10 years ago and expect that they're still up to date, right? So it's a process. And of course, updating the standard operating procedures would be part and parcel of this exercise. We're doing that at the moment. Again, in Bika audit talked about non-policy on, let's say, asset depreciation. They've talked about optimizing the revenue through management and utilization of local assets. One of the basic tenets of asset management is, why do you have the asset in the first place? And how are you working the asset? Are you maximizing the challenge? Too often people go out and buy a new car without looking at whether they've got a car in the system anyway in the first place, right? It's a simple thing. So your issue is, what do you want to do as governor, as government, local government, and how do you buy the assets, and how do you preserve the asset, and how do you run the asset, and minimize the cost of that asset, but maximize your, that's the high level goal. I understand you've had a few problems on optimizing the collection of public service obligation from developers. I don't know too much about it, I have to confess, but I'm told that when you do PPPs, public-private partnerships, they have an obligation to pay something back to the government to utilize those assets and to have access to the assets. So if you're not maximizing and you're not getting that revenue, you're losing another asset, right? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you're not careful. And of course, we're talking about the need to improve asset management process. One of the better asset management Bibles, if you want to call it that, Bible is a wrong word, but it's the Victorian government policy on asset management. A lot of countries, in fact, have adopted that, other than Australia and New Zealand, but they are seen as standard bearers ahead of the troop. Asset management is a systematic approach to procurement, maintenance, operation, doing up assets and eventual disposal of assets. But the important point is to integrate that with the utilization of assets and their performance and the use of assets. How do we use it? Right? With the business requirements of the owners. In other words, I think you have to start and say, what do we want to do for the community? The next step is, what do we need to do what we want to do for the community? Then, having spent that money, how do you manage that process? I think that's a sort of a short version of what we're trying to do with this thing. So it starts off at the higher level of saying, we want to do A, B, C, D. What do we need in terms of resources, and how much do we spend at the end of the day? And there appears at the moment there is no overall policy like that sort of brings it all together. What I'm seeing is that you've got a basic asset practice. It's not a policy. Every unit buys an asset. Nobody talks to each other and says, do you have this asset in the system? Can I use it? Is it being used? Simple question. The question I asked the other day was, we were buying some computers for the IT system. And quite frankly, that's an odd one. But nobody asked the basic question, have we got the processes in the system? How many computers do we have? Do we need to buy, people just keep buying. If the budget is there, people will spend the budget, that. Right? So the idea is that if you have a more integrated plan, then somebody will say, no need to buy that. We already have it. Or we can upgrade what we have. Right? This is the linkage that we're looking for in this process. So this chart over here might explain it. You do your planning, which you do right now. As I understand it, from you're doing the budgets for next year, right?
Yes.
But the asset side of it, which I don't know enough of, seems to be that each entity, each agency puts up the requirement. And then we just total it up and see if we've got enough money to buy it, right? That's one way of doing it. That's a very simple way. But you are very big. You're not a simple organization. You're a complicated organization. That's where this thing comes in. With the enterprises, I can make a quick decision to buy a car. No point in asking my wife. I know we need a car. But in your organization, you know,
We have too many wives here.
that's also
Too many houses, too many kids.
it's like when I only have one.
But one wife already have a difficulty.
But she wears the pants.
I know the boss. but so we're talking about planning. So we've got to get this attitude of people to sort of say, let's do
I think it's
planning.
very important.
Yeah.
You have to like a big family, but the control is on the one's
Absolutely.
father.
Absolutely. And this is what we
Now
try.
everybody is on his household. That's the problem for us.
What is the control?
In some ways, I mean, what we're saying sounds complicated, but it's not really that complicated if we go about it the
Itu
right
siapa
way.
nggak sistemnya nanti. The father is the system, the IT system. That's the father.
Yeah.
Yes, but
So a good system will.
Too many women. From 4 deputy, 2 is a woman.
But that's good.
1 is professor. Yeah.
No, you've got no gender problems. Australian government, by the way, is very, very strong on gender management. Anyway, the first step is planning. You're doing some planning. It's not integrated. The second step is asset creation, which means you either buy, build, or share in partnership with somebody else, right? Then you operate the asset, you maintain the assets. Now, again, when you look at maintenance, operation and maintenance, one of the common problems in Indonesia and a lot of developing countries is that sometimes the assets are not well done. You build roads that are meant to last for 30 years, they don't last 30 years. That's part of the problem. The second problem is you don't, and this is general, I'm not saying DKI. The second problem is you don't have enough of a budget to maintain. So what happens is that the asset runs down quicker than it should. So in the end, it costs you a lot more, right? So if you don't have a good maintenance schedule, and you don't have a budget for maintenance, then you're going to have a problem later on. It feeds you on itself. Then, of course, asset rehabilitation, redeployment, or adaptation. This is what we're saying. If we want to build something, is there a building that we can adapt, we can restructure? Can we do something with an existing building rather than putting up a whole new building because the money is there? And I have to say here that one of the first things you said to me is that you don't have a budget problem, you have a spending problem. Right? In other words, you've got money and it's not being spent in the right area. So, and of course, at some stage you've got to look at getting rid of the asset if it's not good. Now very quickly here,
Mas kita jalan, itu saving bisa 45 triliun untuk KBL. Semua nggak ada paper, e-office, paperless office. We have the infrastructure, why not?
so if
Okay, nggak apa-apa. Jadi password is the kayak bank. Your password is your signature.
if you then looking at this exercise, the big goal that I was talking about is to meet the required level of service in the most cost-effective way. In other words, that's where we start off. What is the service we want to provide to the people, and how best to provide it at a reasonable cost? Then I won't go through this. We've got sort of how we do it. These are detailed steps that we work through. Here we quickly sort of lay out some of the things that can be done. In planning, you need to link the assets with the citizens' needs. This comes from what you want to provide for the people. Link inventory and asset registers. We try to do that at the moment. You've got to have better controls. Spend analysis of assets, how much are we spending? And the IT plays a very important role in this, by the way. So that's very important that the IT exits and user to the system. He's a very key person that should be involved right from the beginning. It's a linkage that we miss quite often. The IT should not be coming at the back end of the process. It should be in the front end. And of course, standardizing assets. Acquisition, when you buy assets, does the policy require you to look at the alternatives? Do you need to buy it all the time? Can you lease it? Can you go into partnership with somebody? It saves you money and it's cheaper in the long run. So you have an example is lease versus buy. Risk evaluation, how long will the asset last? Who will look after it? How do we manage it? Do we have budget allocated, etc. And of course, the procurement services unit. At the moment, from what I understand, it's interesting. Procurements are being done by different sections. It's not coordinated. There might be an area that you want to look at where you have for assets above a certain amount, not necessarily for everything. You've got to be practical. But if you're looking at assets, maybe there ought to be a centralized unit. But these are just very common sort of thoughts at the moment. And of course, review options of PPP, buy-own, transfer, etc. You're doing that to some extent at the moment, right? You're going into public-private partnerships with the private sector coming in to help you get the assets. That's going to be an important process of this. Operation and maintenance, I've talked about. You optimize performance, you have a maintenance program. Other one is going to give me today an example of how you have a maintenance program, how it's budgeted into the process. Asset valuation comes back to what's on your books and what's existing.
Car maintenance kita sudah nggak boleh tender lagi untuk semua, nggak boleh ada tender lagi, semua harus KTPM di katalog. Nggak boleh maintenance, nggak boleh tender lagi, semua langsung masuk ke ATPM seluruh unit. Dia nggak boleh lagi tender. Dulu kan servis mobil saya masih tender, nggak boleh lagi. Itu harus ATPM. Agen tunggal pemegang merek, authorized dealer. This is authorized dealer. We put the service and the maintenance cost to RKPP, put in e-catalog. So we become like a common people. Send our car, they do the service, and we pay according to the price list.
You mean in terms of revenues?
No, car maintenance is like 5,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers. So according regular
service
service.
from the automobile, sometimes, for example,
Yeah.
has to be included.
Before we have to use a bidding. The company win this
Should include
project and they send sometime in their own.
Jadi company mobil nanti dapat service berkala ya.
Yes.
Ini sudah masuk harga dulu ya.
Enggak, bukan. Jadi di dalam dealer-dealer itu ada biaya servis, 5.000 berapa, 10.000 berapa. Jadi kalau masuk ke dalam maintenance di LKPP, kita siapkan anggaran. Kalau mobil kita sampai 5.000, dorong ke situ, dia perbaiki. Dorong ke situ, jadi semua berdasarkan
So it's a published schedule when they first buy the car.
And price.
Jadi kita nggak mau lagi maintenance semua alat berat apapun dengan tender. Termasuk pompa, saya lagi dorong, baru dimasukkan.
Dan nggak pernah dipakai pak, nggak pernah dipakai.
Dia lebih baik.
Nggak boleh masuk jangan siapa.
I think this generally applies in a lot of countries. Certainly in Indonesia, you have this high level thing that says you've got to maintain assets, but no guidance on how to maintain the assets or what you should have. So I think in terms of
That's why we went to work together with the producer of this product. So now the schedule of the service, the time, the kilometer.
Right.
So you just follow them.
Yeah.
Follow them SOP.
Right.
It's more easy.
Simplify.
Yeah.
Well, you're taking business, you know what I'm talking about. in business, you know, this happens.
Yeah.
It's standard policy.
Yeah. So we bring a little bit business SOP here.
Correct. And you
For
can do
asset.
that without complicating it. But the point I'm trying to make is that staff, even if at the high levels you understand the principles, staff don't understand how to implement.
Including kalau itu kan badan pelayanan untuk pengadaan barang kan, kita mau bikin satu kan.
Iya.
Lagi siapkan perdanya.
Dan itu sudah berinfluence.
Sudah ya kewajiban.
Sekaligus bantuan dari
Ya, one apa tuh? One door for the procurement.
Right. Well, that might be an answer. I'm just throwing out some examples. Anyway, and then there's disposal of assets. When do you retire the asset? When does the car become too expensive to run? When do you buy a new car?
Ini juga lagi lelang kan, disposal itu kita lagi habisin lagi. Yang jelek-jelek semua kita habisin kan semua. Aset-aset itu.
Terus Pak, terus berjalan. Terus berjalan.
Iya, buang aja semua beban-beban.
What we're talking about here is trying to do a comparison of what you're perhaps doing now, what you should do to be better managing the asset. For instance, now you do a lot of compliance work. The law says you've got to do budgeting, so you do budgeting, but it's sort of at a basic level. So procurement, receipts, a lot of these things are spelled out, but they don't bring any value added to it. Nobody sort of thinks a bit further than that. What a strategic approach would be that you, as we said, tie it back to service delivery needs. You have a life cycle approach. In other words, you say this asset will last us 5 years, 30 years, whatever. How would we get through the 30 years? So right at the beginning, you buy something on a longer term basis. Integrated approach to asset management and service delivery. We talked about that. Greater transparency and quality reporting standard. What you should get out of this, if you do it well, is a more efficient, effective, and appropriate asset management system. That's your goal. Something you can do in between something that we are doing now, which is very basic. I won't go through this, but basically you develop a policy, you have a strategy of how to manage the assets, and then you plan on making it happen, right? So it starts at the top, strategy, plan, and then it moves up the top again. This is something that we thought of with just an idea. Assisting staff with aligning physical asset registers. You're doing that now. That's the census program. That's a relative quick win in the sense you know what assets are there, what's on your books. Following up the busy car findings on the asset management is an easy one. Medium term, we want to try and identify your requirements for what is needed, like overview policy. That comes back to your level of updating the SOPs, upgrading the capacity of human resources. That, in fact, if I were to state which is the highest priority, your staff are the highest priority. There is a thinking locally that you send them to a course for 2 weeks. And that's it. No follow-up. You don't train them again, you don't upgrade it, you don't check on the skills again. And I always use the example that if you're a CPA like I am, I still have to do 40 hours of education, continuing education every year to keep up my life. Every year. So what I'm trying to say is that if you apply that to staff, you need to do a refresher course.
Nggak usah terus di-upgrade orang-orang terus training.
Everybody needs that. You forget.
Yeah.
Anyway, you develop a management policy
Masih ya?
and come back to the end. And one of the things is that you think in terms of a longer horizon, not just this year's budget, next year's budget, 5 years, 10, 15 years. Broad budget, and then come back to it. Very quickly, the scoping study will look at your policies, look at the laws, look at the SOP in terms of accounting policy or how to do things. See what's happening with the IT database that we got.
Kuntoro, BRL chief and UKP 4, Mr. Kuntoro. He already done this when he was a tin mining company in 1989. That's why I learned how about the e-office, e-government, e-letters from Kuntoro. 1989. He already done this before. And in Jakarta, we don't have a connecting the whole, even the same floor, our computer never connecting. Kuntoro already done this in Singkep, Bangka, Karimun, Belitung, Jakarta office. Yeah. So everybody will know, oh, Kuntoro sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. He still send an email later to the official, you know. But they are and use a satellite. How come it's 2013? Even a land, we don't have a land connection. That's why the UKP, Surabaya, now we copy Surabaya. And we don't, we don't feel shameful and we just ask them, we learn from Surabaya. Yeah, we have to acknowledge, but we really,
So this gives you some idea.
we're in the back. Come to the all year now to do the best thing, follow Surabaya.
This gives you an idea of what we call scoping involves. It's looking at the facts, trying to fit it together, come out with some policy.
May I ask about the policy of buy or lease? We still face this problem, like a car maintenance operation.
A car is a good example. If you buy a car, in the States, I use the example I'm used to. You can buy a car for $20,000, good average car. But these days they are leasing cars for 2 years, right? At $200 a month. Okay, 200 plus tax, sorry. $220 a month. $20,000 car. Now, the question is, do you want to put $20,000 in the asset right now, which you might or might not have? Do you borrow that, or do you lease the car for 2 years and say, no deposit to pay, I'll pay every month $220, that's my cost. Cars don't require much maintenance in the first 2 years. And the system that in the States that they come out with is at the end of 2 years, I take to give them the key to my old car, they'll give me a new car for the next 2 years. But the cost might be $250 instead of $200. So in some ways, you're amortizing on a cash flow basis what you pay. So you can have a lease, or you can have a lease and buyback where you go to Palinton, who's got lots of money, to build a building, and you lease it off them, but at the end of 30 years,
For me, I prefer lease.
well, there are lots of advantages, but you have to do an exercise both ways.
That's what Pak Kuntoro did in Menerima, and he saved a lot of money. No maintenance cost, no accident cost. We're a mining company. That's why we pay the lease. And when some car has a problem, they replace the new one.
Well, that's right.
If we bought the one, have a problem, no car. We have to lease.
Yeah.
That's why lease is better.
Now slowly I'm finding that
Bisa
people are-
e-procurement juga. Kita bisa e-procurement karena Toyota rent a car kayak
Udah ada perusahaan.
Indo segala macam itu sudah ada list. Itu masukkan juga ke e-katalog. Jadi kalau kita butuh mobil, rent aja. And we don't need to rent a whole year. Sometimes we just need to rent for 1 month.
It-
2 days, like we have a guest come. Jadi sekarang kita nggak usah beli lagi minibus tuh. Kita nongkrong di minibus, kita mau pikir nih. Kita beli HS kan, 2 HS.
This is just an example. You can have a PPP with paling
Nongkrong sebulan, minggu nggak pakai, satu nggak pakai. Tapi sebulan pakai sekali. Kalau mau pakai, langsung di procurement kita sewa bayar, Bu.
Ya, yang penting yang poin yang dijelaskan Pak Baskar, ada semacam kerangka
Iya.
untuk pilihan ini ya.
Iya.
Ada kerangka, ada sistem, ada
Makanya
proses.
kita mau share, menurut kita sudah diputuskan polisinya.
Ya.
Kita list aja sudah. Jadi nggak usah beli. Jadi pegawai kalau mau beli mobil, kasih tunjangan saja. Kalau nggak ada mobil, tunjangan uang sewa itu kasih kamu. Ya kan? Jadi dia senang bisa punya mobil sendiri.
Masa gitu.
Ya.
Masa ini semuanya.
What do you think about the program like this, the policy? This like a company. So my friend's company like this. Because he is a CEO, the company has to provide him a car. Yeah. But the company is very smart now. He asked him, which one you want to choose? I give you every month money
or
for the cost of the car or the car. Because my friend is, he's come from a rich family. He said, no need the car. I got the luxury car from my father. So I give him the money. And the company is selling.
but then you know that all you have to give is that much money, no extra.
Yeah.
That's
In Australia, all government cars are registered.
Please. So we follow Australia. It's better. You follow. Yeah, you have learned. You have to leapfrog. You have learned the mistake.
David's cars.
You have learned from many mistakes. So I just follow you.
while this discussion is going on, I thought we'd have a 2-minute break.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's okay. No, I think 9:45 is okay. I have to go to the bonus. I have
Apa sih, nggak ada perlu disposal lagi kan?
apa tuh? Like army equipment show. Yeah. Ya jadi gitu aja, Bu. Semua masuk di katalog sewa-sewa mobil. Ada Nissan semua. Nggak usah beli.
Semua mobil udah ada mereknya. Jepang udah ada, Suzuki udah ada.
Jadi kita nggak usah, benar-benar nggak usah beli. Nanti mobil mau sedan apa nggak usah beli. Rugi kita beli 5 tahun. Kayak sekarang istri saya bilang kan, mau beli mobil. Saya ngapain lu beli mobil? Kita jadi pejabat. Semua mobil bisa pakai. Lu beli mobil 5 tahun lagi udah jelek. Mau duit aja. Masa beli mobil gitu. Numpang aja. Saya nggak suka beli mobil, Pak. Bapak mungkin nggak pernah tahu. Saya tuh nggak pernah punya mobil ini. I personally never own a car. So my company own the car because I have a depreciation. This is a fixed seal. Saya perusahaan yang kena PKP kan, kena apa penambahan PTKP itu istilahnya apa? Itu yang pajak, yang ada tambahan nilai itu. Saya beli mobil, saya bisa restitusi. Saya pakai perusahaan beli mobil ini, perusahaan saya kan perusahaan yang ada kena pajak itu loh. Produk saya itu kena PPN 10%. Jadi ketika saya bayar PPN 10%, saya itu bisa restitusi. Maka alat berat saya, semua barang yang saya beli itu saya bisa restitusi. Karena semua produk saya bayar 10%. Makanya mobil-mobil saya nggak punya mobil pribadi. Kalau lihat STNK mobil saya itu semua PT. Ya PT 100% punya saya, apa bedanya? Bedanya gimana? Bedanya tidak usah bayar pajak. Malah ngurangi pajak penghasilan saya. Jadi itu yang mesti dilakukan. Saya nggak pernah punya mobil.
Yang poin kami adalah ya keputusan untuk lease daripada buy itu bisa sebagian dari asset management policy seperti kami. Sebagian jadi salah satu isu.
Diganti asuransi.
Jadi kita nggak mau kita mau apa dan nggak usah beli asuransi.
Tapi kalau mobil jabatan
Nggak usah, bisa.
masuk mobil jabatan.
Cuma persoalannya apa? Persoalannya begini.
Ini lagi yang lainnya.
Mobil saya itu kenapa? Kita ada dam kan. Saya ada niat setelah 5 tahun saya beli. Kita pikir, Land Cruiser setelah 5 tahun saya pakai tiap hari. Saya dapat rusaknya ya Bu. Kecuali saya hobi kan, ngapain?
Bisa jual.
List aja semua sebetulnya.
Perusahaan dia.
List aja.
Berpikir.
Saya pejabat mau bisa jadi pejabat itu kan jadi
Kita harus mau. Termasuk gubernur-gubernurnya bisa ya semua.
Iya makanya kayak juga kalau.
Sekarang memang tanggung-tanggungan, kayak sekarang satu Lexus nongkrong, nggak bisa pakai. Dapat 50.000 beli. Kalau kita list nggak mau pakai, stop. List tiap tahun kan. Saya tambang semua list. Yang memang saya kita hitung, ada juga kita beli memang akhirnya. Ada beberapa hitungan. Tapi kalau untuk government is better list. No risk.
Well, that's fine. So, asset
Karena buat
management
nyokap.
to record
Kalau
is a
rumah
very
sakit
important exercise.
emergency harus ada rumah sakit kasihan
And
berjalan walaupun dia
it's like your own house.
ada standar pengalaman.
But in Jakarta, all the rental car, they put a chip so they could monitor what we talking in the car.
Really?
Yeah. You could control where our car. Yeah, when we rent to make another agreement, you have to, because it's government, no recording in the car. They want to control the driver. Pak Heru punya. Pak Heru nih, he own a separate car for rent. He could stop the engine of the car. And when the car get out from the area, the GPS will send a short message to his cell phone, telling him your driver is out of the area.
Yeah.
And he could call the driver and shut down the machine from the cell phone. Only 2,000 rupiah monthly. That's why I said our Transjakarta busway don't want to have a GPS. It's just stupid. Not stupid. They don't want to do this because they want to do something. I think this want something to do a fraud in a bus. If they want just to pay the company, you even could know where the car position. And if they go up the line, they will send you a message. This car get up the line. Very easy to manage to fix. But they don't want to do this. Transjakarta nggak mau bikin asal macam-macam.
But I think you're saying the right thing.
Udah. Susah, yang pelan-pelan lah. Masih nyembeli ketek dulu.
It's a bit hard to police terrifying.
Nyembeli ketek itu monyet. You know, in Java, in Central Java, a band of monkey always came to the kampung, steal everything. Now, how to stop this monkey? You catch one, come again. Catch one, come again. That's the one way. They call it nyembeli ketek. Ketek is a crab, monkey. You catch one, you cut two bitches. The monkey. You cut two bitches, and you hang the body. No monkey will have courage to come again.
I think your message is you got to look at it differently.
Yeah.
When you see lots of DKE staff hanging outside.
I just hang the free man. That's why here we just learn not to read the paper. I just learn how to run, how to shoot well. Yeah, sometimes I have to try put the bottle like this in the corner and we shoot. If still hit, it's okay. That means human head is still okay. Only like that.
Trained in the US. I'm going to now talk about the internal audit function, but I want to say something that I think you all have to take. Generally, the internal audit function has not been given the priority it should. Internal audit is a very important function. They are no longer just fault finding. There should be a partner looking at how do you apply the asset, for instance. This is why it's important that internal audit.
I like the soft copy.
I have. But it's important that the internal audit function is strong and not just fault finding, but assisting how to manage the governance, right? It's at the top end. If you look at your chart of organization, the internal audit is way up there. It reports directly there. And so a lot of people don't give them the credit for it. And it's important that IT is act as your partner rather than as looking out for faults. It's a partnership. It's a two-way process. There's been a shift in internal audit functions over the years. It generally, in the past, the current, if you will, is a culture of fear. The auditors are coming, they're going to find faults in what I'm doing. I really don't want to take too many risks because I'll get criticized by the internal auditor. The staff on the other side, we know, they think the audit is a nuisance, usually. They can't see the value added. They can't see why the internal audit function is important. And also the auditors are at fault because they just tend to be a compliance checking mechanism, fault finding, and an extension of BPK. What you need is an internal audit function that's professional. They should have a culture of professionalism. They should be able to help you assess the risks and manage the risks in your business. And they need to be proactive. In other words, they're your business partners, right? And the focus should be value for money. Are you getting value for money? The IT is not saying to the management. You're not going about it the right way. So that's what we want to get to, that's where we are. I won't go into the technical details of what an audit is, but it's an independent overview where there's no politics involved, if you will. It's just saying, if you're going to buy this asset, these are the risks, for instance, and I think getting it back to the asset management function. The internal audit, if it works properly, helps an organization to accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to risk management, control, and governance processes. Right? That's what they should be doing. That's the main job. And that's required by 5060, by the way. It came out in 2008, and frankly, it's still not implemented by many departments. Frankly, you should know it. 5060 is not being implemented much outside. I don't know what you're
Because implementasi. Kalau ngomong peraturan, Indonesia is the best. They already have many regulations.
We're only up there.
We have many things.
Now, we have talked about IACM, it's internal audit capability model. And the question is, what is it? What is it? What is an IACM? Just very quickly, it's internationally recognized framework. Tells you how to organize the internal audit department for effective internal auditing. And it's a basis for implementing and institutionalizing effective internal audit and a roadmap for orderly improvement of strength. In simple terms, forget the language. What it is this. Is that internal audit at the moment, generally speaking, is done by people. The good people do it well. People who are not professionals just do the audit. When they go, there's no system there that says you've got to continue to do this. It's not institutionalized. And there's no standard processes, there's no standard procedures. Internal audit staff are trained. In most institutions, they go to pick up there for a 2-week course, and 10 years later, that's the last one they did. Now, audit changes, right? So, the government of Indonesia recognized the usefulness of the IACM exercise and asked BPKP to do an assessment survey back in 2010. And this is the interesting statistic right at the bottom. 584 IGs were surveyed, of which 281 really responded. So out of the 281, 262 are still at level 1. Right? Now, can you just go to the next slide? There are 5 levels, level 1, 2, 3, so you move up the line in terms of the proficiency. Level 1 is sort of ad hoc. There's no system to how you approach it. The president of the IEP, which is the Association of Government Internal Auditors, said that when you're at level 1, you can't check fraud. You don't know what's happening. Right? Now, some people would know, there's no question, but we're talking about the whole organization between IT. So, if you go back to
Parah juga kita dulu itu.
Ya memang pasti seperti itu Pak.
Terus dia gitu ya.
Sebetulnya satu aja Pak yang tidak terbiasa di KKP itu terjadi orang. Dan kedua struktur Pak. Jadi kalau lama dia main struktur. Jadi baru dari satu tahun jalan Pak. Dia yang struktur itu Pak.
Nah itu kan mesti sistem IT bantu. Jadi orang ini agak kurang, sistem IT seperti dia di dalam itu.
Dan memang kalau auditor di lapangan dan bukan tua-tua Pak, hanya itu pengalaman itu benar BPK. Harus yang muda Pak, harus yang yang kaku-kaku gitu. Jadi kalau udah senior terlalu muda bisa untuk turun di lapangan.
So 93% of the IGs are at level 1, or working towards level 2 to be fair. They're not just level 1, they're working towards level 2. Only the Ministry of Finance is at level 3, which is the ideal position. You want to be at level 3. Right, to have an infrastructure that's good. And 19 are at level 2.
Jadi Pak Franky ada tugas deputi untuk beresinnya
Siapa?
monitor itu ada deputi ngapain saya lagi jadi ada incasnya tambahan lagi nih tugasnya
Iya Pak, siap.
Jadi yang berat deputinya Bapak dan ini Pak?
deputi gak pada kan bisa lepas
Oh iya benar.
si cari gitu
Lagi cek Pak Franky datang.
Enggak Pak. Enggak Pak.
udah terlalu tua untuk Bapeda tapi masih muda untuk deputi
IG staff to look at that and say, does this make sense? Do we have alternatives to go PPP, lease, private, whatever? Their audit should be performance-based, evaluated. In other words, not just saying, they should have risk-based auditing, which is only looking at, not only but concentrating on risky areas. And everybody should know what the professional budget is. It's a profession. And the level 1 depends on the people who are there. When they go, people don't always follow the rules. So what you really need is an institutionalized system that says, whether I'm here today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. You will do it according to certain standards. Level 2 is not bad. It realizes certain things like compliance auditing, develops a professional program, can do on-demand audit, etc. I won't spend too much time on this, but I talked about it earlier where in terms of functions, it used to be a watchdog, compliance checks, expose findings, disturb the auditing sometimes. We need to move to the new paradigm. Approaches where all organizations, for instance, should supplementary, complementary, fulfill obligations just because the rule says that. Now there should be a partner and advisor to management and act as a management tool, be a center of excellence. An interesting comparison here, Pai, is we took a study tour to Korea and we looked at these people, and what they said was this. They said, in my internal audit department, I choose my staff, the IG said. They don't give me staff. I choose who I want in my organization. Okay? And then he went further. He said, when I go to the chief executive and I say, Linton is the one I want, he should come to my organization. they have to prove why he should not come to my organization. And what the IT does, it picks out bright people. Okay? And what then happens is, after 2 years, these people go back into the system. So people are fighting to get into the IT's department. It's a center of excellence.
In Korea.
It's a beautiful way of doing it. It's very simple. Because quite often as
Itu loh simple, dia datang betul-betul dia pilih siapa betul itu.
he picks out bright people.
Iya.
He knows that the
Dia
organization.
send them back ya, after 2 years dia suka dia. Jadi kita kayak ini kayak kayak lepasin virus-virus baru ini ke mereka teman-teman hati, balikin. Dan Pak Franky lah masih panjang umurnya pensiun kok. Masih very young. Masih berapa tahun? 3 tahun. You have to accomplish this project. Nggak boleh pindah dari inspektorat ini Pak, beresin itu.
It's not running the internal
Ya,
audit.
atau udah bosan inspektorat? Enggak.
Kita siap aja ke apa itu.
It's not running the internal audit down when you said they get staff that they don't have control over, right?
Udah wakil kan Bu Maria kan masih panjang juga pensiun.
Bu Mary Pak.
Bu Mary. Iya.
So if they could choose, as an example, right? What you do then is you train them and then you send them back into the system so that the system improves. Everybody knows. So that's an example of a good approach.
Change agent itu loh.
Yeah.
Ini tarif baru ya, itu menarik sekali.
Iya menarik, change agent itu.
All too often we don't recognize the value of internal audit if it's done properly. But it's not done properly, so people say, well, anyway,
Bagus ya.
next one.
Jadi statement untuk kita untung kita.
Some of the short-term or quick wins, as they call it, may be that there's a first process or procedure for whistleblowing activities. You can hide it away from your department back into audit. Train the staff so that they get some certificates in auditing. They can become professionals in auditing by going to school or by getting trained. They can be lead people for anti-corruption exercises, setting the standards of how to do better procurements would be an example. And they can focus on problem solving, on asset management. They should be a partner in this exercise that we're doing in asset management. Medium term, they should just upgrade to level 2 where they have good practice methodology. Risk-based internal audit is something that I want to talk about for 1 second. I have been told that Basuki is moving to risk-based auditing from next year. Now, risk-based auditing has been a basic principle of auditing internal and external for 15 years. And all it means is that if you know that the risk is higher, then you spend more time auditing that. If it's low, don't spend too much time. Look at it, but don't worry about petty cash missing. Right? Stamps missing. It's not going to break the bank. But something like an asset of big deal. Look at the risks. Look at how you can organize that. That's slowly being introduced into the Indonesian government, but very slowly. Last time I checked out, BPKP wasn't even doing risk-based auditing. Right, perfectly, BPKP is not doing anything, not doing risk-based yet. BPKP not using.
Belum pakai.
Belum juga ya?
Udah Pak.
Udah ya?
Udah. Kan udah bikin perjanjian udah 3 tahun Pak.
Enggak, maksud saya ini loh. Saya udah perjanjian dengan BPKP sejak 2006 malah. When I was an agent, I make an agreement with the BPKP.
No, BPKP are good, but what I'm saying is this area is not highlighted. Focused on.
Masalahnya di mana?
Ya, indah kan Pak, kadang-kadang Pak yang harus kita ini. Joint audit itu kan baru kita mulai 1 tahun ini Pak, 2 tahun lah. Ya.
Makanya dulu saya punya ide, atau saya di Belitung dulu, kita bikin online sistem kita dengan BPKP. Cuma dulu saya ada masalah infrastruktur. Jadi what we want to do is like a bank, and with the central bank.
Yeah.
All the system every day have to close.
It's standardized.
Itu yang kita mau. Jadi semua SKPD nggak bisa lagi laporan keuangan itu dia main every day like a bank. Nah itu MOU saya sama BPKP 2006. Cuma saya keburu berhenti dari Bupati in 2006 I made the MOU with the BPKP and I don't have a best infrastructure at that time in Belitung Timur. Dulu kan belum ada 3G, belum sampai teknologi seperti itu. Kita mau sewa satelit kemahalan. Kalau Jakarta udah bisa. Langsung kita link persis BI. Kita
Kalau dulu di tempat Bapak, dispendanya keluar nggak?
kita di sepeda masuk ke
itu
Bakauda.
Nah, itu persoalannya Pak di sini, Pak. Jadi dengan muncul
Iya, harusnya kan satu malah. Jadi antara income sama kontrol itu badan Bakauda tadi.
Itu
badan keuangan daerah.
Di struktur baru yang kita bangun Pak sekarang. Jadi dengan dispenda keluar,
jadi dispenda itu masuk
harus
di
di
dalam
dalam
BPKD. Tapi nggak apa-apa walaupun dia di luar pun asal
tetap dia berdiri sendiri Pak kantor, cuma dalam
kontrol
BPKD-nya.
Nggak, maksud saya sekarang bisa kita lakukan kerjasama BPKP, balikin ke saya dulu dengan kerjasama dengan mereka. Kita ingin seperti bank sama BI. Jadi semua transaksi kita nggak bisa lagi main-main kita, karena tiap hari. Makanya begitu tank 31 Desember langsung print out, kalau kita kan nggak bisa ngatur lagi. Jadi disitulah terjadi manipulasi main terutama. Iya, saya ditantang begitu, kalau langsung close, enak kerjanya terus.
Well, just to pick up on that, BPKP have already said.
Yeah, BPKP has a system.
Yes.
We just want to make a
Bring it up.
link online the
Well,
system.
two things are happening. We've got the Association of Internal Auditors, Government Internal Auditors, IDP,
Yeah.
and BPKP, both are houses the same thing. They are raising standards that they want to work with. And BPKP is helping on the asset management too. So we're working together anyway. Medium term, we just want to get the best practice of what's happening in the profession, do RBIA, use better computerized systems to do both the audit and analysis and stuff like that, and look at your own quality control, audit standards, SOPs. The end result, so 5-year horizon, we want to get to level 2, maybe part of level 3. Act as an advisory service and do performance value for money audits. That should be the whole idea. Again, we've got a similar thing to the scoping exercise where we said we'll have a quick look at the services and roles of the IG, professional practices, what are the standards. There's an audit manual that's it's been out there for a while. It's not completely international standard. It's not best practice either, from what I can see. They can assist in performance management and accountability, can help with budgets and key processes. Governance structures, we're going to look at how do they relate to the government, the vice government. You are the administrator, so how do they relate to you? How can they be more helpful to you? People management, that's talking about careers. Goes back to my career exercise, which says we are good professionals first, and then we go out into the general administration area and set examples. And we can look at some of the other examples to compare with. How did MOF go from level 2 to level 3, for instance? Right? Well, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Berapa lama kira-kira? How many years do you think we could upgrade from level 2 to level 3?
Not less than 2.
Tinggal dua Pak yang masih
Berarti KI masih level 1 ya?
Iya.
Level 1 ya?
One, near 2.
Me too.
1+.
1 plus. But still far, plus dikit plusnya.
itu juga jadi masalah Pak sekarang Pak, karena kita kan 2 kali WTP sebetulnya Pak. Dengan level 1 itu juga buat mereka jadi problem juga sebetulnya. Cuma tadi di SOP dan
That's what BPK get angry with me, you know. When I make a comment, we just here for 2 months, and they said DKI will be a problem with their VTP status. Will we become VDP? So the media asked me make a
unqualified opinion.
Qualified without VTP. Bahasa Inggrisnya apa? Qualified.
Unqualified.
VTP itu
WTP
qualified.
Wajar dengan
WTP
pengecualian.
Oh, Mas WDP.
WTP.
WTP.
WTP wajar tanpa pengecualian.
Right now they got unqualified opinion, but before they got qualified opinion.
But unqualified with mention.
Yeah, with mention paragraph. With
With
explanatory
the
paragraph.
Makanya saya bilang kan, itu salah kalian dong, kenapa kasih WTP? Makanya saya bilang kan, enggak kenapa bisa jadi WTP, dari dulu udah jelek kok. Masa saya baru 2 bulan Anda sudah mengatakan ini berubah? Ya kan nggak mungkin kan, makanya kesel kayak gitu. Sebenarnya kalau ngomong jujur, DKI belum pantas dapat WTP. Kalau lihat dari aset-asetnya semua. Kalau menurut saya loh Pak. Kalau saya WDP, gitu kan, harusnya gitu loh. Tapi ya udahlah. It's a gift, grant from the BPK.
But the opinion, to answer your question, BPKP has said that entities that are at level 1 will probably take 10 years to get to level 2. That's it. That's not my estimate. But with some support, they can do it in 5, 55.
I think we could do it faster than 10 years. You use IT and you make a recruitment from the private sector, get in to help us. Bayar Pak. Di samping nunggu 10 years PNS kita dilatih, sistem IT dan rekrutmen swasta
You probably have more flexibility than the average ministry.
IT-nya memang.
Ini dengan IT cepat Pak. The same when I have a problem with my accountant. So I put the IT system, bring the outside auditor and train them how to make the input better in the system. So the computer could run well. Itu yang penting sudah Pak. Harus tarik orang luar.
Bapak saya tahu ya, di Pemda DKI Jakarta, khususnya di Inspektur Jenderal, ada kesadaran mengenai sistem ISE ini. Mereka sangat sadar mengenai sistem internasional ini.
Iya.
ISE sudah tahu ya, ini menjadi standar emas ya.
Dengan terbentuknya asosiasi, dia jadi bagian yang wajib sekarang sebetulnya.
Wajib.
Jadi 45 jam pendidikan itu salah satu menjaga profesionalisme.
Itu sudah sangat biasa. It's asking how much awareness.
Hanya orang-orangnya nih, SDM-nya yang masih orang-orang lama. Gitu.
Iya.
Jadi persoalannya di SDM. Jadi itu yang harus diganti, itu yang saya sebutkan tadi, kan banyak orang tua kalau untuk turun di lapangan dia sudah sangat tidak mungkin karena semangatnya sangat berbeda paradigma operasi ini.
So you probably have a bit more flexibility in your system, so you should be able to do better. So basically, the message with the internal audit is, if you have good internal auditors, they will help you throughout the organization. Right? They should be partners, and they should be advisors to you for risk management, alternatives, forward thinking. But 2 things are important. One is good recruitment. 2 is continuous.
Jadi kita ada formasi nggak?
Ada 35 ada.
And PPKP, we're working with them anyway. I was at PPKP 2 weeks ago.
Ya BPKP already in.
That's right.
50 orang sekarang dia bisa
50 people.
Absolutely.
Jadi saya paling penting tuh inspektorat sama BPKD buat saya.
Iya.
Kalau buat saya itu bukan operation. Saya bisa baca operation di lapangan itu dari audit sama BPKD.
Yang mungkin itu yang itu bantuan hukum buat kita itu harus kita. Karena habis itu terus sebenarnya harus Pak Bares, kalau soal SIB itu apa ya pakai dipanggil Pak.
Karena itu tadi kita bisa dipanggil karena kita juga punya peluang untuk dituduh toh. Itu persoalannya. Kita kalau cek nggak betul masuk di transparan, bikin transparan, iya kan? Iya, ya. Lanjut.
Continue.
Right?
Continue, sir. Lanjut.
The last,
Just to end,
because I have to go to the
Yeah.
Monas.
we're at the last slide.
Belum lagi.
Gempa.
In terms of process and timelines, in September, of course, we received a formal request from TKE
Terus dah.
of the assistance needs technical approval to commence the
Sengaja
process.
itu. Memang sengaja.
Tec-
Supaya bisa maling.
The technical approval has been given by our side to go ahead. When we talk about scoping study and the presentation of the scoping study, we've already started some of the work. We're doing some substantive work rather than just scoping. It's still is by December you should be able to see something constructive that says this is the fact, this is what perhaps you should do. Then you have to decide.
So
what
next
you
year
want.
we will know what
Right.
decision that to make.
And you have to sort of talk about what you really want to do, because not everything can be done. But we're also doing a lot of work as opposed to.
Thank you very much. Please.
Ya, oh,
Indie.
Ya.
Indie.
Perlu
How
saya
to
jelaskan.
spell it? Indie.
Ini ya kepala ya.
Hehehe.
Tapi perlu saya jelaskan ya, ini programnya belum disetujui oleh OSAI. Semuanya ini belum program ini masih pending proposal dari Indie Board. Belum dapat, jadi
Wow.
jadi ya.
So you work without paying.
Ya,
No budget.
Creative.
Charity, Pak.
Kami
Charity.
pinjam dari sini ya untuk scoping ini ya. Tapi sebentar lagi mungkin saya kira dapat. Cuma
We
harus
already.
untuk Desember sedikit
Ya,
ambisius.
Bapak sudah oke kan? Kita udah minta Bapak.
Udah, suratnya udah, Pak.
Sudah kan?
Iya, tapi
Sudah
prosesnya
ditambah.
belum
Surat kan?
belum
Udah.
formal.
Internal kami aja sih, Pak, untuk
Oh.
budget
Oh,
approval-nya.
Iya.
But Australians still rich enough. Like the European country. But we don't know what's going on after the United States has a problem. Political dispute like that.
Saya kira
That's very
Desember
danger for
hasil interim saja. Saya kira January February untuk selesai ya.
Januari, Februari.
Untuk realistik ya.
makanya itu udah nolong sekali.
Ya.
That's good. Okay, this was great.
Yeah, like Australia, like for Transjakarta bus, the report is very good.
Ya.
In the reportnya we know very well, very complete. Yeah, the Transjakarta.
You've seen it.
Transport.
I read very thick report. It's very helpful for me.
The investment plan.
Yeah, very helpful to make a decision. So we know, what's the problem, what's the weak point of this Transjakarta, what's the problem, and for the operator, cost, everything, very clear.
Dalam bahasa Inggris, bahasa Indonesia.
In Indonesia. Bagus loh laporan. Jadi,
Udah lama kok
Australia.
Soalnya dikaitkan sama TKI dan
Yeah, very
Karena kali setahun lebih mereka tahu.
Yeah, we're very thank you. for
Yeah,
this.
that's good. We're very happy to help you.
I talked with your deputy premier came here for investment, investor from New South Wales. Apa namanya?
Oh, wow. State government, yeah.
Yeah, government. This investment and trading. Yeah, we talk about for tourism.
Not from the last week with the Prime Minister and the Minister.
Tony Abbott.
Yeah, last week is Prime Minister. No Prime Minister.
Prime Minister's here on
No,
Monday.
no, Prime Minister. This Premier.
This is state.
Yeah, State Deputy Minister.
Ini program dari Pusat, bukan dari
Yeah. And we talk. It was just a sister city, Jakarta and Sydney, and to work together with tourism, education,
Oh.
and investment, like infrastructure, like reclamation, the island, the estate. It's Australians, the expert. Even Pantai Mutiara, he's an Australian consultant to do develop the canal house.
Sydney's a bad example for infrastructure.
Yeah.
You should have known.
Karena dari Melbourne, Sydney mau Melbourne begini Pak, jelas. Dia nggak senang dari Sydney, mau yang
If you
Melbourne.
want to study, go to Melbourne. If you want to happy, go to Sydney.
Tapi yang penting dari Australia inovasi
Iya makanya di Amerika ya.
service disediakan oleh swasta, dibayar berbasis kinerja.
Ingonya
Performance
lebih
based.
baik orang Aussie tidak.
Dan that's very effective.
Oh,
Performance based payment.
But I learned about the free bus from the Fremantle. But
That's
yeah. I remember. Red cat, yellow cat, blue cat. So we want to implement here next year. So the whole Monash Block M free. There's one. I don't know what we call it, red or yellow or black cat with one line and another from Monash, Istiqlal, Pasar Baru, Juanda until the old city. And the third is from Kuningan and Casablanca and Taman Menteng. And the fourth is from Bundaran HI, go through the Tanah Abang. So it's a free starter. It's 10 minutes, double deck.
that's good.
Yeah. The end of this year we'll come 5 prototype first. We're going to try from block G, Tanah Abang to HI. And I got the donation. Itu mesti buat itu loh Bu Endang MOU-nya. We could get a 10 bus from this mall and shopping mall and hotel. They could put their advertising. And we also get a 30 bus Transjakarta free from them. They use solar, you know.
Jadi integrasi sama Transjakarta.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to make this. Udah ya? Okay. I have to prepare.
Thank you.
Next
This is general. That's the problem. Terima kasih. Thank you. We very helpful. Yeah, I learned. That's why I said Jakarta is more easy than Belitung. You know why? Too many people could hit us. In Belitung, nobody expected never help me.
Yeah.
It's difficult. But here,
Next one, Belitung
yes,
Kak.
here I just sit here 1 or 2 hours. I get the knowledge. Yeah, we learn. Masih Pak Fengki bukan Pak Fengki. Kita buru-buru.
Kok bisa Pak di Monas ada pemerkosaan gitu Pak tanggapannya?
Kita lagi selidikin masalahnya apa kok sampai orang bisa nipu masuk pakai ruangan kita. Nah itu kita mau tahu kok gak ada yang jaga di ruangan. Tadi saya udah minta Pol PP untuk cek lebih dalam lagi
Ada
selain
peningkatan
polisi.
pengamanan Pak dengan
Kita pengen pasang CCTV. Makanya saya udah bilang sama Pol PP, Anda tidak bisa cuma patroli keliling-keliling. Tidak mungkin Anda. Kalau kita plototin 20 titik, 3 shift saja 6 orang. Mana cukup orangnya gitu loh. Yang harusnya 20 titik diplototin 1 orang dengan CCTV.
Pak soal Ciliwung dong Pak.
Ciliwung kenapa?
Kenapa Pak? Jadi gimana Pak kalau
Mesti
misalnya
jalan, dong.
solusinya Pak? Kan itu masih ada masih jadi sungai terkotor tuh Pak.
Ya kan bertahap, kita lagi kerjain kan. Mesti siapin rumah dulu. Yang penting Manggarai, coba lihat Manggarai. Manggarai sekarang semua lumpur udah kita angkat, udah plong. Dia nggak ada lagi buang-buang sampah terus.
Nah itu jadi WC terpanjang.
Pintu Manggarai udah. Kita lagi mau kerjain. Lagi mau beres
100 sampai 3.000 penumpang itu
ya syukurlah, berarti perjanjiannya kita nggak perlu bayar.